Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Hello, and happy holidays and happy new year. This is Hollis Taylor at Rainbow Soul Soulstrology. This is our forecast for the first week of the year.
That's right.
And I'm an astrologer and a psychic and a medium and all kinds of other fun stuff. And you can find that at my website at divineandrogen.com. And this is...
Hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. I'm the author of The Dancing Hippo, a wonderful storybook that is about resilience. It's beautifully illustrated by Amanda Moore. It's award-winning. You can get it at my website, brighthawkproductions.com. I'm a musician and a storyteller and budding astrologer, and delighted to be here. And
I'm LeKross Ortiz, jack of all trades, master of none. I'm here for the ride to learn and try and learn as much as I can about astrology. I also have 2 books out, The Fool's Journey, which is a color journal, and finally got the wands done. So I'm working on the next one. So it's probably going to be a 5-part series. Yep.
Make sure we get that link, LeKross.
Yeah, I gotta send it.
Yeah, and we'll post it up on the Rainbow Soul website and put it in the description so that people can go find your book.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to welcome everybody. I hope you've gotten through the first day of the year. And I am going to welcome you to sit with your feet on the floor. If you can, if you're driving or something, please just do whatever you need to do that keeps you safe. Otherwise, take a moment to take a few deep breaths. And just allow your body to relax. Maybe you kind of squeeze your toes a little bit together or your legs and release that tension. And as we relax and we just relax into nature, we can feel ourselves sink into Mother Earth. And while the top part of Mother Earth is cold, the bottom is very warm. We recognize the seasons and the weather that we are in now. And whether you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, you can connect to Mother Earth's vibrations. And just allow your body to resonate with Mother Earth and be part of the seasons and part of the cycles. And allow that tension to just imagine all of the tension in your body from the holidays and everything else to just slowly drip off of your body and down into Mother Earth. Allow her to take that energy because she'll compost it for you. That's what she does best, transforming energy. And as you just allow that tension to drip and just fall off of you like water flowing off of you, you can even imagine a warm waterfall above your head, washing away the tension and the stress from the last couple of weeks. And just allow it to melt off and to go deep within Mother Earth, where she will transform it, change it, any last bits of tension go with a nice deep breath. Now, instead of focusing on your exhale, I'd like you to focus on your inhale. Take a deep breath in, and with each breath, I want you to see little vines or grass and green growing up from around your feet and around your legs. Maybe you become a tree. Maybe you become your favorite flower. And just imagine yourself growing under the care and the love of the sun and the moon and the cycles of the earth. You can see yourself growing a little bit more with each inhale. Because now Mother Earth has returned that energy that you gave. Now she has returned it to you in growth. And as that grows up from your root, pushing on your passions, that inspires your will, and that will that pushes up at the bottom of your heart and helps you connect to everyone you love and feel connected to. And allow those loving words to flow from your mouth. And allow yourself to be connected to all and to realize that we are all one. And we are all connected to the divine light. And you are a whole human being. We are all human beings within our own way. And as you come into your grounded body and you feel yourself full and complete and whole, I want you to start coming back into the now, wiggling your toes and your fingers, maybe opening your eyes and looking around where you are now. And becoming present in the here and now. Great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Bright Hawk.
Thank you.
Beautiful music. The handpan has a way of healing and soothing the heart, for sure. So, my friends, we are starting a new year. So you should also be looking out for our new year, for our forecast for 2023. That will be out soon. So be looking for an extra broadcast that will be coming out very soon. And, you know, this week, though, I want to focus on what's happening this week because there is some big stuff happening this year. We've already started to look at it, and it's definitely definitely some stuff going on. That's for sure. Okay, so there we go. And
one thing you can count on is the stars are always in motion, just like the earth, on every one of us. Energy in motion.
Always. Yes, constantly. And so what that creates is change is the only constant, right? So things are always changing and nothing really remains the same. And you can shift things. If there's things that you're not liking or that you don't like about your life, you can send an intention and change it, especially if you work with the planets. I find that working with the stars and the planets can really help you change things a little bit, really help you shift things. Now, on January 2nd, of course, it's the day after New Year's Day, and I was very interested in this day. I was like, is everyone just going to be held in their hangovers or what? Because right away I was like laughing because I was like, look at the cradles and stuff. Sorry, I'm trying to take care of this. There we go. Look at all the cradles. There are 3 cradles. And I was like, a cradle in the sky usually means like being held. It's like a way of being held. And I was laughing because I'm like, okay, well, I guess if we're having a hangover or whatever, we might need to be held, okay? So that doesn't mean go crazy over New Year's because Mercury is in retrograde. So, you know, don't go to bed with people that you know, that you may not know very well, that when you're sober you may not choose to go to bed with them, and you may want to be careful about driving under the influence. And I'm not just saying that because it's New Year's, but literally Mercury in retrograde, people sometimes have terrible accidents during that time. And so I would just suggest that since New Year's is Mercury retrograde, that you just, you know, arrange a cab. It's only a little extra money, and I bet you somebody will share it with you. So with a cradle on New Year's Day and the day after, I would just be prepared to be held, and for maybe the day to be a little bit easier than you thought, to be blessed, especially if you return to work on this day. You could also find yourself continuing to complete projects, and you know, it's not a bad day. It's actually quite a very, what I would call a comfortable day. January 2nd, it's going to be a comfortable day.
Good. Well, let's start off with saying happy birthday to the Capricorns.
Ah, yes.
Monday is the moon's day, isn't it? So the moon is void it's a waxing gibbous phase. It's heading towards a full moon. We'll have a full moon at the end of the week on Friday the 6th, and the full moon will be in Cancer. But for right now, we'll get to that when we get to that, just in a minute. But right now, for January 2nd, Monday, Moon Day, is the moon is trining Pluto, it's trining Venus, and it's trining Mercury. So those are all blessings. Those are all, and of course, remember, the moon is in Taurus, and the moon is exalted in Taurus. It's very happy in Taurus. Taurus is, of course, very trustworthy, determined, warm, affectionate, artistic, great sense of appreciation for the fine things in life. Of course, Taurus is a bull, and so on the other side, Taurus could be kind of stubborn, could be kind of obstinate, could be rigid, possessive, you know, overly cautious, hard to change, very fixed, right? So that's the range of Taurus. But the main thing is that trait the moon is happy and exalted in Taurus. It's creative. It's enjoying life. What lights you up? What makes you enjoy life? That's a beautiful thing. And of course, we're in a waxing phase. And so when we're in a waxing phase, hopefully you did a new moon intention, or maybe you set intentions as we approach New Year's. And in a waxing phase of the moon, it's a great time to get things done and be in that energy. And you might want to ask yourself what needs to be done, because the moon is going to be squaring Saturn. And so when the moon is squaring Saturn, that's a conversation with the taskmaster. What is dad going to call you out on for not getting something done? or maybe you did a bunch of work. Maybe it's harvest season for good job. Remember, Saturn is always do the work and then you'll get the rewards. But if you don't do the work, those are the proverbial 2x4s. I don't know what happened. I just got the rug ripped out from under me. We've all had it. It sucks. It can be very challenging. And it can be sometimes the kick in the head you need. So squaring Saturn, we know that that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. And there's an opportunity to, do the work, get the reward.
And I noticed that you got the moon trining Venus and Pluto. So, the January the 2nd would
It's
probably
like you
be.
said, it's a lovely day.
It's actually probably going to be a fairly lovely day. The biggest struggle I would see is that, Venus and Pluto together makes me think about rebirth and change, especially to love and relationships, or maybe even your style or the way you present yourself. And it's going to be in opposition at the same time to Lilith and Cancer. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, just be aware that you could be feeling differently about a relationship, or feeling like you want to be independent. Maybe you could have a push and pull or something like that. Just make sure you make a list. So that's what I do. If I wonder about a relationship, if it's healthy, just make a list of what's good and what might be not so good. And that will really help you weigh it out and see it more fairly. I could see that happening on that day.
And truth be told, my friends, if you're really wondering, book a reading with Hollis, because they have a unique talent in being able to put your charts together and see if you're well matched or not.
Yeah.
If you want to know, this one's really good at doing it.
Looking at a synastry chart can really help with any kind of relationship, not just in love, but it can also help in all other kinds of relationships. I do an interesting relationship about a reading as well, about people that have passed on in your life, people that you've lost. And it's sort of a combination between mediumship and astrology. And doing that together, it shows me about the relationship you had with this person. What happened on the day that they were passing with this person? Was it their destiny? Was it an accident? What happened? And then what are you supposed to learn from this, right? Okay. So if someone's passed in your life, I'm just going to say that it's a really cool reading. I'm the only person that I know of that does readings like this. I am a medium and an astrologer, so I do put it together. But it's the synastry, and that's what I'm talking about with synastry. Synastry charts are very interesting because they help us understand why you're with, or why you are butting heads with your partner. And it can even help pick out your strengths and your any like challenges or anything like that you might be having. So especially around New Year's, things happen. Things happen at the New Year's party, right?
Yeah, for sure. January 3rd.
On the 3rd, so because this is what I was kind of getting to, is that Venus is going to move into Aquarius. And I feel like
it's a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal because Venus is about love and relationships and beauty and style. So you may find yourself experimenting with unusual styles, which I personally think is the way to go. I think everyone should be unique in their own style. And Venus in relationships could also mean that you might start feeling a little bit aloof. But keep in mind, like we said in the beginning, things are only temporary. So even if you're feeling aloof for a little while, maybe you just need to take a little extra space. Maybe you need to apply some self-love or something like that. But Venus in Aquarius could also spark unusual relationships or unusual ways of doing things. Now, the vertex moving into Libra, this is very much about things that's going to be like, the vertex is about things that happen to you that you can't really control, that are kind of out of the box, that just kind of happen, okay? And so moving into Libra, it could adjust relationships. So that's why I'm like, with all these things happening on our relationship stuff, so be aware of your relationships, pay attention to your relationships. There's a lot going to be happening in 2023. And I just realized I forgot to change the year on my thing, but
Mercury retrograde.
Don't worry about it. I'll change it next time.
Yeah, and that Mercury retrograde with all that relationship stuff with Venus makes you go, careful how you communicate, be mindful of how it might come across to the other person. Yeah,
because you could definitely have some troubles. And the rectangle will continue. So whatever's happening is intended to happen. It just might feel awkward with Venus moving into Aquarius and the vertex moving into Libra. And LeKross, if you have something to add, just jump in there.
Well, I'm not quite getting the vertex. What exactly is it's something you can't control. So no matter what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, it can sometimes be out of like left field a little bit. Sometimes it's involved with people passing, but it doesn't, we can't predict when people are going to pass. Okay, friends. So just saying, I can't look at your astrology chart and tell you what day you will be passing to the other side. I can't do that. I'm pretty sure Spirit did that on purpose. But what it does do is that it tends to play a role when unexpected things happen, if that makes sense, LeKross. Like all of a sudden your partner might come with, I think we need to do this.
Right. It's like side swipes.
Like, what? Yeah, or just something like that could happen.
Okay.
Well, January 3rd is Tuesday, and Tuesday is Mars's day. And the moon is going to move into Gemini. And so the moon in Gemini we know loves to network, can be very versatile, can be very witty and charming, amusing, lively. On the flip side, Gemini can be disorganized. It can be inconsistent and superficial, and cunning and sometimes manipulative. So there's the range. We always try to show the range. We're not saying anyone's one thing or the other. But the main thing to say about the moon in Gemini is that it brings, the moon, of course, is watery, and Gemini is air, which is mind. And so it makes for a busy mind. And so that's what's going on with the moon. It's going to be in Gemini. And then it's going to, because it enters Gemini, of course, Mars has been hanging out forever and a day in Gemini. Like finally in mid-January, Mars is finally going to move direct in Gemini and get out of that retrograde it's been in for, no kidding, like almost 6.5, 7 months.
Which is actually pretty rare for Mars.
Yeah, but it happens, and it's been a long one. So the moon is going to get conjunct with Mars in Gemini. It'll be sextile Chiron. So Chiron is all about the healer, the wounded healer. This is how we all they're the hard-won lessons we've learned in this life, and now we can teach those things because we've had those lessons, right? So Chiron in a sextile with the moon is a really sweet energy. It's a very, something beautiful could happen that way in the healing realm with the moon, and trine Venus. So again, relationship and things with style and stuff like that. Moon is trining Venus. So there's that very nice energy. So yeah.
And trining Venus like that, I feel like is just, with the moon in Gemini, it could really help you think of positive ways to enhance your relationship. So if your partner does come to you with some weird idea or something like that, you could choose to try to, and it could really actually be good for you.
And the next several days are like that. There's creativity in the relationship with moon, and if we go to the 4th, I'll just go ahead and talk about the 4th.
Go ahead.
Because you see how the wheel, the 12 houses, right? There's an access point, right? So Capricorn, the other side of Capricorn is Cancer. And that there's a stellium going on right now in Capricorn, which means a lot of energy concentrated. And sometimes it's so much that it shoots across, and across the way is where the moon is. And so, or heading, the moon this day on the 4th, the moon is actually in Gemini heading towards Cancer, which happens actually on the 5th. But on the 4th, which, by the way, if I didn't say, Wednesday's Mercury's day. And so what you see is that the moon is quincunxing Mercury. And so what that means is quincunx, I learned this from Rick Levine. He talked about when he sees a lot of quincunxes in the chart, it means that person has a lot of creativity. So you have the moon creatively working with Mercury, which is communication, but it is in retrograde, so you might be reviewing your communication. And you have a trine with Saturn, which is a real nice blessing. We go from a square to a trine, and Neptune is now a square. So, and when you look at the chart for Wednesday, almost everything is what we call above the line. And so there's this very public facing, like news. There could be news that everybody hears on that day. That's kind of like, wow, did you hear the news kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's the 4th. Yeah. And the moon continues to wax towards the full moon in another day or two. And yeah.
Now, with the stellium in Capricorn, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, Pluto, Mercury, and the Sun, and Venus just left and went over into Aquarius. I don't know. Capricorn can be kind of cold and distant at times. It can kind of be like the disciplinarian a little bit, kind of, especially with Pluto there and Mercury. Mercury's in retrograde with the Sun. But I think whatever it is will be lighting our way, and because the Sun in Capricorn also lights your way towards what you're supposed to be doing in the world. And with the rectangle continuing, it's destined. So whatever's going on, especially with Pluto and Capricorn, which is one of the main corners of the rectangle, it's sort of the foundation of it, that Pluto and Capricorn, which we've been dealing with for a long time now. Mm-hmm. And Pluto is finishing up its cycle here in Capricorn, because soon it is going to move on. It's going to be moving into Aquarius in 2023. So I'm interested to see how that comes out. But Pluto and Capricorn, if you haven't noticed, has brought upon all of the political things that we are witnessing, including the United States taking a look at its own structure and saying, maybe we should change some things. And those kinds of questions and those kinds of changes are coming from Pluto. And in Capricorn, it's very much, it's, first of all, it's the United States Pluto return, but in Capricorn, it's kind of like, this is the system, this is the ground, this is how you do things. This is how you go. Capricorn is very involved in the system. And so with Pluto there, it's sort of like, yeah, well, that sucks. Don't do that anymore. Do it this way. And Pluto's not always very nice about it. You know, sometimes Pluto kind of smacks you around a little bit, which is what we're witnessing, right? We have been witnessing it for years, but Pluto needs to finish it up. It's in the last few, it moves very slowly, but it's in the last few degrees of Capricorn. And it's just kind of from what I understand, as Pluto moves out of the sign, it will sort of finish up some things. It will do its little dance in Aquarius and then come back and tie up any loose ends that it didn't finish before. So, you know, so we are dealing with that. And so I would not be surprised, along with what you brought up, Bright Hawk, between the two, we're going to be like seeing stuff in the news, you know, like stuff might start coming out about the system. And, you know, Pluto is very much, I personally think Pluto is kind of on the karmic side. Pluto is kind of like, if you're not doing this right, I'm gonna poke at you. You know, if you're out of integrity, I'm gonna poke at you. And that's kind of what we've been noticing, right, with our government, with the United States government anyway.
Yeah.
So. And I'm glad that we're going to have this deep breath on January the 5th, because it's not that those days are going to be hard. It's just that they're going to feel very destined and maybe a little on the intense side. So you could be feeling a little bit of intensity, but on the 5th, this is going to be the day to take a deep breath, okay? So if you need to schedule a break or something like that, try to do it on this day, January 5th. Because first of all, you got that cradle, and with a cradle, it always helps us feel well taken care of and like everything's going to be okay. And with a grand trine, we could even take some things for granted. Some good things could be happening. Maybe we're having good relations, especially around communication, maybe with women in our lives in particular, especially mothers, because the grand trine is involving Ceres and Venus, but it's also with Mars. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's like something about the dynamic of masculine and feminine, or maybe it's your mom and dad. It will really depend on your chart, but take a look and see what's in Aquarius, where Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini are, because those areas of your life, you could probably take a deep breath on this day. You could probably be like, so if you just look at those houses, Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini, those houses will have Venus, Ceres, and Mars trining each other. So they'll be a little bit easier, although Venus will still be involved in the stellium. But that doesn't, a stellium's not always bad. It's just a lot of intensity in one area.
For sure.
It's just a lot of like, so whatever happens on the 4th, by the 5th, we'll be feeling like, I think we're going to be okay though. Like whatever is going on in the news might really get you upset on the 4th, or might really have you questioning things. But by the 5th, you'll feel like we're okay. Although there will still be a problem we have to deal with, because because of Jupiter, Moon, and Ceres are going to be sort of pushing and pulling on each other. You know, with Jupiter and Ceres sort of pulling on each other, and the Moon in Cancer, I'm just going to say, you know, don't go out on January the 5th. Just stay home. Just go home that night, you know, go to work, do what you have to do. Enjoy a night home. This is a good night to enjoy the night home, because Moon in Cancer, that's really what it's all about.
Yes, because what happens with Moon in Cancer is the moon comes home. The moon is home in Cancer. It rules Cancer. And so that's a really good idea, is actually enjoying being at home on the 5th, because the day starts off with the moon void in Gemini, and then it moves into Cancer, and then it squares Jupiter, and we've talked about that. And the nice thing is you still have that lovely quincunx energy, except this time the moon is quincunxing Venus. So love creatively, this could be an interesting time to, you might get an idea about a creative way to make your relationship even better. So of course, when the moon moves into Cancer, Cancer is the crab, of course, and is, carries their home on their back. They are imaginative, sympathetic, protective, tenacious. They're very nurturing and caretaking. They love everybody to be happy in the home. They're very loyal. On the challenging side, Cancers can be possessive. They can be moody. They can be critical. They can have self-pity, and sometimes they can be a nag. There's a range to everything. So the moon is home. Yay, the moon comes home. You know how you feel when you're home. Feels so good to be home, right? So that's the vibe. So you might as well find a lovely way to have some good home time, because that could be very enjoyable.
Especially with that cradle in the trine.
Yeah, and I want to and Thursday's Jupiter's day, so there's definitely a big conversation happening with Jupiter, and Jupiter's expansive, isn't it? There's a square going on with Jupiter. So, and then there's that big T square that's happening as well with Ceres. So, those things can put some pressure on you. And of course, we're leading to the finale of the big full moon on the 6th. Because of course, when the sun is in Capricorn and the moon is on the opposite side in Cancer, it's going to create a full moon. Ta-da! And so it's a happy full moon. It feels like can't get much fuller than a Cancer full moon because it's home. It'll be opposing all that energy in Capricorn, Mercury and Venus, and it'll be squaring Chiron and trining Neptune. It'll switch out of a square to Neptune to a trine to Neptune. So yeah, some of what felt easier in the week will now feel potentially a little bit more challenging. Full moons tend to feel full, like pressure, almost like a full balloon, right? Remember, I said there's certain days, if you have a choice about medical procedures, never schedule anything that is optional on a full moon. So if you need to have some kind of a procedure, a surgical thing, just never do it on a full moon. It's just a bad idea.
Hospitals are usually madhouses during that time anyway, so.
That's exactly right. And I was just going to say, teachers and police officers and nurses, they always know when the full moon is, right? For whatever reason. They say a lot of that information is anecdotal, and they've never been able to draw that causation correlation doesn't exist. But we all know the feeling of the full moon, and sometimes it can just be a lot. But it is home, so that's what I'm going to emphasize there.
Yeah, and on January 6th, we'll continue with that grand trine. We'll carry over from the other day. Now, Mercury will start to become part of the T square with Chiron, the moon, and the sun. Now, what's happening there is that the moon is in opposition to Mercury and the sun in Capricorn, okay? So the moon, which is emotions and being at home at home in Cancer, but you may not know what those emotions are until they're already pulling on you, until you've already stumbled them out of your mouth. And then Mercury and the sun, now Mercury's in retrograde, so especially with Mercury involved, you might say something that you didn't really mean it to come out that way. It comes out all screwed up. So it's probably best, if you're truly wise, to try to give your mouth a break. Just pause before you say things during this day, January 6th, because that T-square with the Mercury and the Sun in opposition to Moon in Cancer, I notice with the Moon in Cancer, especially with the full Moon in Cancer, you'll just get caught up in the intensity of things and it will just come flying out, especially with Mercury and Capricorn going backwards. It's just, especially if you're a Virgo or a Gemini, because Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury. And so Mercury is going retrograde. And so during that time, you may feel it more than other people. And you should look and see if Mercury's in retrograde in your chart. We do have an old video that we put out like last year or whatever, like how to tell when Mercury in retrograde is going to affect you. There's another video on YouTube you can find if you look for that. And the thing is that the Chiron in Aries is very much, now that's the part you want to engage on to help you not pull so much on that opposition. And that's how we deal with T-squares, is to deal with the square rather than the opposition, because the opposition you pull one way and it just pulls the other way.
Right.
And so you're better off engaging in the square because you can learn from that. So Chiron in Aries is about the wounded healer. So then we come back to that. Okay, let's identify what part of you might be maybe overreacting, because sometimes, we project things on our partners or people around us or people we're working with. We might be thinking one thing, but that's not who we really want to be. That's not who we really are. I don't really want to say that. That's not really what I meant. And so you might find yourself doing that. So what you need to do is back up and engage why you're saying that and why you might be feeling that. And it probably has something to do maybe with something in your childhood or something from a prior relationship or a prior experience. So then as a wounded healer, you want to take a look at that, get in touch with it, and then, try to find a way to heal it. Maybe you meditate or take a walk or exercise or something, just because you just want to engage that energy in a different way, especially with Chiron and Aries. Doing a little walk or exercise or yoga or something will really help bring the energy down. Then you'll be able to say what you really need to say.
And the other thing I would say about surfing that day is that January 6th is Friday, and Friday is Venus's day. And there's that beautiful Venus trine. And what would make you feel good? What would be a special treat? What's an indulgence, but not an overindulgence, not going overboard? Aquarius can stir the pot. So Aquarius is likes to make sure that everything is done well, and there's, that things are taken care of in a fair and balanced way. When I think of Aquarius, I often think of environmentalists and humanitarians, and thinking of the bigger picture for the greatest good of all kind of is what reminds me of Aquarius. And so that Venus in Aquarius is really the thing that you can lean into. Like, what would be really good right now? What would really help this situation? That's what you can lean into on Friday. Because that to me feels like where the blessings are, and the oppositions can feel like the push me, pull me, the why can't I get anything done, or why does everything feel so challenging, Right? So good.
Okay. So on the
weekend.
And so for the weekend, I was like, wow, okay. Well, the only thing that I was a little like, is that Lilith is going to move into Leo. And I was a little like, and she's retrograde. So again, be careful going to bed with people that you wouldn't normally go to bed with. So that's Lilith. She tends to especially dominate feminist sexuality or independence and things like that. But Lilith and Leo could also inspire you to step up into your independence. Now with these two kites going on, with that Venus in Aquarius. And, you know, one way to engage it is the Jupiter in Aries or the Chiron in Aries. And either way, you're going to be able to, if you focus on maybe some exercise or something like that, that will really help you move through any energy that might be lingering as the moon leaves that cradle. So that means that your emotions that were feeling very tender and delicate over the week and felt like they were very handled suddenly might be feeling a little out there. And so, because it's going to move out of the cradle, and the cradle was sort of holding your emotions, but now it's going to kind of let them go. And so with those kites, the idea is, okay, well, make sure you do some exercise. Go for a walk. Go spend some time outside, you know, put a coat on, go take a walk, get some sunshine. That's really great for Jupiter in Aries and Chiron in Aries, if you really want to engage in good healing energy. And with that grand trine continuing, things are still going to be fairly easy on this day. It's not getting harder, but the biggest challenge is, like I said, you know, if you go to the club or something, you know, you might just want to think twice before you go to bed with that person you just met at the bar. That's all.
Sounds like a good practice.
Yeah, it's a good practice probably all the time, but you know, this weekend you can feel particularly compelled.
Right. Saturn the 7th is Saturday is obviously Saturn's day. And on the 7th, the moon is trining Neptune and Jupiter. So amplifying your dreams and visions, letting you think about that, especially as the moon finishes up in Cancer and is going to be moving into Leo, which actually happens the next day.
Ah, okay. So the moon
starts to be weaker on this day. It's going to be a void moon because it's at the end of the sign as it enters Leo.
Okay, as it enters into Leo on the 8th.
Ooh, boy, that's a busy screen.
Sure is, isn't it?
My goodness.
I was a little like, really?
All right, so I'll do mine first then.
Okay.
Because you have a lot. Obviously, Sunday is the sun's day, and the sun is still in Capricorn. It's a waning gibbous moon, and the moon enters Leo, which I happen to have. Actually, that's exactly what I have. I have a waning gibbous moon in Leo. It's going to square the North Node, so we know that's going to be a conversation with the future. It's going to be opposing Venus because we're still in that Cancer Capricorn axis of opposition energy. It's going to square Uranus, which is known for being unpredictable, and sextiling Mars, which is a lovely thing, trining Chiron, which is a lovely thing, and continuing to trine Jupiter. So, yeah, I'll let you take it from there. Oh, so Leo, I should probably say, Leo, by the way, is exuberant and creative and broad-minded and colorful and fun-loving and a noble leader. And on the other side, a Leo moon could be self-indulgent, self-centered, conceited, overbearing, bullying. So there's always that range. The moon in Leo is, you have watery moon entering fiery Leo. So it sparkles. It shimmers. It's like the water. It's like the sun on the water. So that's what happens on Sunday, and then you have all this energy going on.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot, but it's actually just making sure that the entire zodiac is held in this cradle, because cradles generally try to sort of soften things a little bit for us. They help us feel held and seen and like we're making progress. And the rectangle also helps us make progress. And the interesting thing that I thought you said, Bright Hawk, was that the moon was squaring the North Node. And that, interestingly, that North Node is in Taurus, and it's in a T-square. Yeah, with the moon and Venus. So that whole T-square going on there, that is going to be like, we're going to need to really, on this day, you will feel very held, seen, loved, hopefully. And, but it's going to be asking, but the universe is asking you about your tomorrow, asking you about your future. It's asking you, hey, what do you really want in this? How do you see yourself in a couple of years? That's what the North Node tends to ask anyway, but it asks you where you're headed, where are you going, what are you going to do now? And that's really what this is going on. So if you are an entrepreneur, a psychic, or any kind of person like working from home, or if you're like thinking about changing your job or anything like that, I know it's a Sunday, but it could be a really good day to sit down and do a little bit of planning and thought and think things out and be like, okay, this is really how I think this could go. And to try to put a structure around whatever plans you have. Because that North Node in Taurus, North Node's been there for a little while in Taurus. And it's really asking you to find out what luxuries you want. How do you want to be rewarded? How do you want this to go down? And when we take those visions and live as if they're happening, they start to happen. So if you didn't know how to manifest those things in your life, that's how you manifest it. Is you start to actually, that's how the magic works. That's how the universe works. If you say, okay, well, I really want this job, or I don't know what job I want, but I just want a job that pays well and maybe pays for me to travel. Help me find that job. Then what you do is you don't instead see how you're going to get the job. What you do is you see yourself already having the job and traveling and packing to go on your next trip and getting paid really well and being able to pay your bills and seeing a zero balance on your credit card, right? Okay, those kinds of things. That's what you start doing, is you start visioning the results that you're really looking for. Don't worry about how you get there. Allow the universe to take that in their hands for you, because the universe really works in, when they say, like, some people say God works in mysterious ways. I tend to say the universe is mysterious and works in mysterious ways, because weird things can just happen, things that you never even thought of. So don't limit the universe on how it's giving you what you really want, because in the end, whatever your results are, that's all that really matters. So if you're wanting a good relationship, see yourself in a good relationship, taking a walk or going out to dinner or whatever it is that you want out of a relationship. Just see yourself already having that, okay? And you don't have to put a face to it. You can just see a person that's in your life, and you don't have to even put a gender to it. And then, you can manifest anything you want. Now, every time I've done this, it works. And I'm not the only person that will tell you how to do this. Most witches will tell you this. Most magical people will tell you this. Manifestors will tell you this. Dr. Joe Dispenza will tell you this in his book, Becoming Supernatural. He talks about don't think about how you're going to get there. Just see yourself as there. See yourself as, having a successful business. And bam, it just will happen. So, that's my big thing on this day, January the 8th. I really think that that's what you should do, is you should engage that North Node in Taurus, really focus on what it is you really want. What is it you really want? And all of that energy, any challenging energy within that T-square will go right into that. And just know that you're held. Know that the universe is leading you down this track for a reason. These things are happening for a reason. They're supposed to happen. And, whatever does happen, it's okay. You'll get through it. It does change and pass.
Well, and it reminds me that, it's just a week after New Year's. So if you haven't done a vision board for New Year's and that's something you like to practice doing, this could be a great day to do it.
Yeah, sure. It would be a great day to do a vision board or something like that. Yeah.
Whatever your creative process is that helps get you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's okay to dream. It's okay to make wishes. That's how the universe knows what to deliver. But you have to speak the dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
You heard the joke about the person who prays every day to win the lottery. And then finally Spirit's like, please buy a lottery ticket. Right? So, you making actions and desires and wishes match, right? So
Whoa, yeah.
it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was going to say it really aligns with, as last week I said, we were in the season of the goose, and it ends January 19th. And I've been noticing there's like a lot of T-squares with a lot of cradles, and like tension and comfort and tension and comfort. And one of the interesting things that I was realizing as I'm watching this is geese fly a certain way to avoid the friction. They fly in a V, and it's called an uplift. And what it does is it actually reduces, they can go 70% further in that uplift than if they were to fly solo. And what I found interesting is that it's basically what we were talking about. What do you see? What do you want to align yourself with? What direction do you want to go? And get yourself in that uplift and use that energy to get you into that direction, because you're going to get it a lot faster. Now, if you could still get there flying solo, but it's just going to take you a lot longer to get there. But if you jump in that collective, like look at what the stars are telling you, jump in that collective, you'll get there faster. If you ignore it, then yeah, you'll get there, but it's just going to be a lot slower, a lot more friction, not as much cradling. And I thought that was interesting with, and also it's visibility, because that V they use for visibility so that they can see all directions. And if you're looking at the stars, they're already giving you, it's like the universe has already given you, this is what happens if you go this direction. This is what happens if you go that direction. This is what happens if you don't go, look at the visibility that you have aligned with the stars. So I thought that was really cool how that coincides with the geese.
Yeah, I never even thought about like the V. I know what you're talking about, like the V that they fly in. I've seen it a million times, of course. And then I was just thinking about the vertex earlier in the week, how the vertex is going to move into Libra, and Libra is all about collaboration. That is Libra. It's a collaborative sign.
It reminds me of that quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that one
night
stand.
They go very far together because they work so collaboratively in supporting each other. That's I love that imagery.
Yeah, that's awesome, LeKross.
And use that visibility so you can see that person coming that you shouldn't sleep with.
Right? That visibility. Well, we've all done it. We've all done it.
Flying, maybe no.
Just think twice. That's all. Just go to the bathroom.
We're not telling you not to do it. We're just saying, do you really want to do it?
Yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it. I think gay, straight, doesn't matter who you are.
There are certain times in the chart when it just is like, wow, yeah, that could be the energy that leads to those kind of hookups.
Yeah, Lilith retrograde, I was really trying to think about what that energy that was going to bring, and I feel like that could sometimes lead you down the wrong road as far as your strong sexuality, especially if you have a strong sexuality. And I definitely have seen and witnessed it. And it's just one of the things I've noticed about Lilith.
Well,
she definitely affects your sexuality.
Amplified because the moon will be in Leo and Lilith is in Leo. So I didn't even put that together, but yeah, that'll amp it up for sure.
So then you're going to feel like you're in love.
Oh, no.
So just be careful. Try to engage in the Leo loyalty, because Leo definitely, so don't go cheating on your partner or anything like that if you find yourself at the club. is it really worth it? That's what I always think. In any moments that I've ever been faced with doing something rather dishonest, like cheating on a partner, I always think to myself, first of all, if they did that to me, that would really hurt. Yeah. And second of all, is this person worth it? Usually they're not.
Yeah.
Usually they're not. So, although if you have one too many beers, they could appear worth it, but by the time you're sober, you realize.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And remember, you'll probably be sober by the time the sex is over. So. All right.
Wow.
All right. So, the first card, I'm going to pull some cards in all of our readings and whatnot today, and our wisdom that we've shared with you. Please just take what you like and leave the rest, including in this card read, if I can figure out the mirroring. So this is the Knight of Pentacles, and I love this card. It's one of my favorite cards. You probably love it too, LeKross, eh?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a superhero, right?
Yeah.
And this person is clearly gender variant because they have the symbol. If you take a look at their arm right here, you can kind of see the gender variant symbol with the circle shield. You can see, if you look at it, there's sort of symbols coming off of it. The Mars one way, the female downwards, and then the both the other way, which I think is totally awesome that that's sort of put into there. And of course, this person makes me think of like Transman. It makes me think of non-binary people that were labeled girls when they were born. This makes you think of gender non-conforming people that are a little bit on more of the masculine side, that just happen to have maybe some they were born with female body parts or something. And the interesting fun thing about it is that this character is on a seahorse, and the seahorse, of course, has the transgender flag around their neck. And the seahorse, if you know anything about seahorses, which I love seahorses, they actually, the so-called males, they don't have gender roles that would be considered pretty normal for nature. Gender role, the males usually do most of the holding of the baby. So once the baby is born, once the egg is made and fertilized, the female passes it over to the male seahorse, and the male seahorse has a pouch, sort of like a kangaroo, and they hold that within them, and they actually raise the child, sort of like penguins, and the seahorse raises the child. And there's a lot of trans men out there, thinking of me and LeKross, that we have worked hard to raise our children, and we identify as rather masculine people. So, but what is it about this card? Well, it's very much about being brave and about being strong, because that's what's expected of us as trans men. As a natural trans man myself, and I know you, LeKross, sometimes you're expected to be even stronger than the average man, than a cisgender man, because just sort of like trans women are too, but in a different way. Trans men they take care of everything. They're nurturing, and at the same time, they're also strong and vital, and sort of, they sort of lead the path, right? They sort of fight the way through. And that's really the magic of this card. This is about the strength, think of more like the nurturing strength of a seahorse. Seahorses are actually fascinating creatures, and they're incredibly strong parents to their families. They're very good with their babies, and they create very large sort of polyamorous communities, interestingly, but they nurture their babies, and they do pretty well at it. And in fact, most of the time in most seahorse communities, the males almost always have a baby. Like they let one baby go and another baby comes, and they are constantly nurturing something for the future. And so that's what this is. This is about using your resources to nurture something for tomorrow. What have you been nurturing that would help your future? Pay attention to that. This is about the strength and the commitment that you've kept to that, holding on to that nurturing of the future. Now, as we go forward, we have the 7 of Cups, which is very much about making choices. This is our right now. This is the choices you're going to make. Okay, what do you really want to be doing with your day? Is this really what you want to be doing? Do you want to change it? Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you want it to be a little different. So go ahead and work on manifesting it slightly different. And this is what this is all about. Pay attention to how that would make you feel on a day-to-day basis. This is about getting in touch with your emotions and your choices. And that's right now. So pay attention to the choices that are present. And going forward, this is in our future. This is the 3 of Swords. And most of you that know Tarot are going to go, the 3 of Swords, that's broken heart. Sometimes. In this deck, I personally read for each deck, depending on the artwork for each deck. I don't always follow the Rider-Waite perfectly. I've been reading long enough. And so for me and this card, when I look at this, yeah, it's about healing the wounds. This is about coming up and saying, okay, these are the things I don't want. These are the things I do want, and I'm going to make them beautiful. This is about a rainbow that is created on a rainy day, right? This is about, okay, so these are the things that I decided not to go through with, but I did follow through these things. And so that's what's bringing our rainbow in. And that's what this is all about, really. This is kind of like Chiron, that wounded healer. Yeah, it's kind of like Chiron, that wounded healer, like that energy of, yeah, this wasn't perfect, but we made it better with a rainbow. So if you take a look at the 3 cards just in review, we have our Transman, the Knight of Pentacles, using your resources to nurture your tomorrow. And then, of course, reviewing your choices right now. Pay attention to the emotions around those choices. Make sure you consider each one with slow consideration. Take your time. Don't rush. And then as you're going forward, remember that some things you might lose, but it's really important because you're creating a rainbow. And, that's what happens when you put rain and sun together. We get a rainbow. So, and we all love rainbows, right?
Rainbow Soul, baby. We love our rainbows.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to RainbowSoul Soulstrology forecast for January 2nd through the 8th. And we hope that your new year is full with blessings and beautiful things. And my friends, please subscribe, like, share, whatever. Please comment. We want to hear from you. Comment on the YouTube videos or follow us on any of the platforms that we show up on. We would love to hear from you, my friends.
Let us know how it's going for you, what we got right, what you have experienced that's lining up with what we're talking about. We'd love to hear those stories. Yeah. Take good care, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.